Hey everyone, TV here, back again to review The Walking Dead, and this time it is for episode 14 of season 4 entitled The Grove. What's this? A title with 2 words in it, not just one. I can't believe this. Before I get to the actual review, I'm going to go ahead and publicly apologize to the guys at Agree to Disagree. I think it's guys, I don't know if one guy or a couple of guys run that channel, but sorry, guys, or guy, I know that you wanted to do a collab with me on the review for this week's episode of The Walking Dead, but it kind of slipped my mind because just recently I've been going through some things that are not bad, but they just been grasping my attention, and because of that, it completely slipped my mind that you wanted to do a collab this week. So I'm sorry. I didn't just want to message you and say, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. I actually want to go ahead and face the camera and say I'm sorry. Take the time out of this video to say I'm sorry. So if you want to do it next week, or better yet for the finale, please let me know, and I'll go ahead and mark it down on my calendar and make sure that we do this, because we're gonna have to schedule some things here, because if there's any sort of time difference, we're gonna have to work things out, because by the time I finish watching The Walking Dead here, it gets kind of late by the time that I'm ready to record a review, and I have a job, so obviously things kind of overlap. So we're gonna have to talk a little bit. So maybe it's a good thing to maybe let there be a couple of weeks ahead of time, but we'll go ahead and talk about that. Hit me up, and if not, I'll go ahead and try to remember to message you. But again, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's go ahead and review this episode, which, of course, if you have not seen the episode, please do not watch this video, because spoilers for the episode will entail. Okay, so I think that this has got to be probably one of the weakest episodes in the season so far, because, I don't know, there was just some things in the episode that weren't working for me, and I am totally kidding. Holy shit, this episode got crazy by the end. Now notice I'm being specific when I say that this episode got crazy, because it wasn't crazy as a whole in the best way possible, because there were some problems with it, and some of those problems, actually, in fact, most of those problems were in the first 20 minutes, where I dare say this episode was actually rather weak, because if you couldn't already guess, this episode centers around the group of Tyrese, Carol, and the girls, which has got to be the most interesting group, because, hello, Carol's back in the mix, and to top things off, she's paired off with Tyrese. And of course, there's that deep dark secret that she's keeping to herself about killing off Karen and David, and Karen being the one that Tyrese was romantically involved with. You're just waiting for that shoe to drop at any moment. I'm like, please let it happen in this episode, please let it happen in this episode. But first, we have to go through 20 minutes of some things that we've kind of already seen before, whether it be things that we've already seen within this group, or things that we've just seen in episodes before. They find this house, which is what this episode is named after, in this little grove, and they decide to go ahead and stay there for a little bit, and this reminded me an awful lot of what Beth and Daryl have been going through, finding the still, which, thank you by the way, I can't remember who said that, but somebody let me know why the episode was called Still in the first place, and it basically means still is this thing that creates moonshine, therefore tying into the whole moonshine game that Beth and Daryl were playing in that episode. Anyways, it was very reminiscent of what Death... Oh, see, okay, if Walking Dead is going to be shipping Daryl and Beth, then their shipping name is going to be Death. I don't know where that came from. Anyways, oh, okay, so it's very reminiscent of what Daryl and Beth were going through in those first 2 episodes. So them finding the house, I'm like, okay, we're doing the same kind of thing that they were doing, and then to top things off, you got these 2 girls who I'm starting to not become a huge fan of. Not only because acting-wise they're not that great, and I don't know what it is, but there's something about that girl who plays Lizzie. It's something about the way she makes her face that she just annoyed me, and it's a huge shame. I feel genuinely bad about saying that, because it's not necessarily the actress's fault that she has that kind of face. It's almost like she's doing the duck face throughout the entire episode whenever she just has that blank stare, like, and I'm just like, please, like, it's easier to watch you when you're emoting because you're distraught about something than to watch you just being yourself because you just got that blank stare that I'm confused as to whether I should feel creeped out, which I genuinely felt in a few moments in this episode, and the writers were trying to get that across through this episode, so I guess they did a good thing with that. But other moments, I'm just like, oh, get that look off your face because you're annoying the hell out of me. And then you got Mika, the other girl, who is very cheery, and she's got these lines that are also like sappy. Like, I'm telling you, everything works out at the end. Like, she literally delivers it that way, and I'm like, man, these girls are just not working out for me. And as the episode went along, certain things got brought up to the mix that were hinted at in past episodes. So I'm not going to deny the fact that these things weren't there before. I'm not going to say that, oh, this came out of nowhere, because it really didn't. I just never really felt compelled to talk about it because I felt like it could have gone another way. But things that hinted at Lizzie being a little crazy here, and then hinting at Mika having to go through certain development steps in order to get to the point where Carol got. Because one thing that season 4 got really right was Carol and her development, because it was not only in this episode but in the season as a whole, where you kind of think back to how Carol was at the beginning of the show in general, and she was just this really frail person who would literally cry in almost every other scene, and now she's this really strong character who will just take no BS from anybody and will not beat around the bush when it comes to teaching these girls a lesson, especially with that girl Mika, who just doesn't want to kill people. And Carol confronts her not only in this episode, but I'm pretty sure in the earlier episodes when they were back in the prison, saying, "Hey, you're gonna have to do some of these things." And I really did enjoy that one line that Lizzie had, where sometimes you're gonna have to be mean, but only sometimes. And that really summed up the best. That really was the best way to summarize how you truly have to live in this world. And it was moments like that in this episode where those girls did work in those scenes. But as the episode went along, the whole thing of Lizzie, being so airheaded about thinking that these walkers could be changed back just annoyed me. But at the same time, I felt bad because the things that these girls are going through, despite being annoying, they made sense. It wasn't something that I wish I could have just smacked them and be like, snap out of it. No, as annoying and irritating as they are, I gotta accept the fact that these are natural things for these girls to go through, whether it be one of them not being comfortable with killing people. I mean, she's cool with killing walkers, but when it comes to real people, she's traumatized by that. And then you got another girl who's practically the opposite side of that coin, in which she thinks that walkers could be brought back some way or another. And you almost wish that these two girls would fuse together to make one girl that would genuinely prosper in this kind of world, because if they were just one person, they would have it made. They would have their life made in this world, because they would have what it takes. One side of that person would develop into being the kind of person that Carol grew to become, and be strong, independent, and have the will to fight through this world. And then have that other side to where they know how to differentiate between the people that are worth saving and keeping alive versus the people that are worth putting down, whether they be walkers or actual living human people. And there was a point where it wasn't just the girls, it was also this whole thing between Tyrese and Carol, and when it was gonna be revealed that Carol was the one who killed Karen and David. And they had that scene where Tyrese is explaining to Carol about how he sees Karen every day and how he's having these nightmares and everything. And even though it kind of bugged me just a tiny bit that Tyrese said that all on his own without Carol really begging the question, because I think that would have felt a little better rather than for Tyrese just to say, yeah, I sure do miss Karen. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, right? Even though he didn't literally say that it felt like he was doing that a little bit. It's just baiting Carol into finally coming forward saying, I did it. But it didn't happen, and that started to worry me. That started to make me feel like, oh, this is going to be one of those episodes where they're going to be like, hey, it's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. And I'm like, I'm not even going to get my hopes up, because chances are it's not going to happen. But then halfway through this episode, it starts to shift a little bit. The girl who thought that walkers could be changed back started to maybe realize that maybe there's no hope for these things. You know, they're not people, they're things. And I love that the thing that seemed to have changed Lizzie's mind were these really charred, dark walkers that have got to be one of the scariest looking kind of walkers that the show has presented thus far. These is when these walkers came out of nowhere and their smoke is coming out of them and they're charred and half of their faces are missing and they're just stepping like this. All their clothes are like everything. They looked amazing, and I really hope that we get more surprises when it comes to the kind of walkers that the show can introduce to the audience. And this has got to be one of the most impressionable type of walkers that we've had on the show so far. And I know it's not the goriest kind of walker that we've had so far, you know, not like that walker from the well that was all bloated and then it splits in half from, I believe, season 2. I know it's not like that, but I just enjoyed the subtlety of the design for these kind of walkers in this episode. And then we had Mika, who started to show hints of becoming a stronger character, a stronger person, willing to put down anybody who's going to get in their way, whether it be to save other people or to simply just survive. And I'm like, yes, we're finally seeing a turnaround to these characters, to these two little girls. And out of the two of them, I'm really favoring Mika the most, because she was the one who was showing much more broader signs of developing, more so than Lizzie. And then the show takes notice of that and says, oh, you like Mika? You like her? Okay. Boom! Bombshell. Lizzie kills Mika. Contrary to what we were led to believe, Lizzie was not in fact cured, so to speak, and kills Mika. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay, you know, what's the deal so far? Who's gone missing? Who's in danger? Who's gonna have to go after who? But no, she flat out killed Mika. And she's like, no, we gotta wait. And that was the point where I'm like, this bitch has got to die. It was a moment that I just didn't see coming, and it was a dark turn that I have not seen The Walking Dead take in such a long time. I dare say even since, whether it be season 2 with oh man, I can't remember. I don't know why I can't remember her name, but Carol's daughter, Sophia. I do remember her name. With Sophia and the Barn. Okay, that was a genuinely emotional moment. But even more so than that, it reminded me of season 1 when Frank Darabont was still in charge, where it had those dark moments of, what do you do in this instance when this kind of situation happens, especially one that takes such a psychological turn, because it was genuinely scary. When I said that this girl had to die, I didn't say that because she was annoying, because she just pissed me off, but because she's genuinely scary now, and she's genuinely a threat, because here, now that she's actually killed someone that was right next to her, whether it be emotionally or physically, you know, this is psychologically, you know, she's nuts. She's gone. So it's time to make that decision of whether or not to keep her around. And I loved that they went ahead and made Carol and Tyrese talk about this situation and make the decision to take her out. And there was a moment where I felt almost a little bit of hesitance into thinking that maybe the show's not going to go in that direction, and they're probably just not going to kill Lizzie. Maybe they're just going to abandon her, or maybe just keep her like literally tied up like a psychopath, like Hannibal Lecter. But no, boom, Lizzie's gone too. And I was like, man, I did not see this happening. And what shocked me the most was the fact that I actually did feel emotionally distraught by the killing off of these two characters. Not just one character, but two. And the most surprising aspect of that was the fact that I was annoyed by these characters at the beginning of this episode. So I'm thinking to myself, why am I feeling this way by the killing of these two characters? Maybe it's because they're children, and I've always had a weak spot for children dying in movies or television shows, because as annoyed as I am by kids in general, because if you guys haven't guessed, I don't like kids. I never liked kids. Whether I'll have kids of my own in the future, I don't even know. But that doesn't mean that I want to see a kid die. So when I hear stories about kids having cancer and then passing away at the tender age of 5 or 6, it does kind of bum me out severely. So I guess that kind of helped me in feeling emotionally twisted by the end of this episode. And I'm like, wow, what are they going to do now? I killed Karen and David. And that was the cherry on top of the sundae. I was like, wow, what a complete 180 this episode made from the very beginning to being probably one of the best episodes of the season, and maybe in the past couple of seasons. And that's actually quite a hefty title. And some people will feel maybe a little indifferent to Tyrese's reaction to Carol's, timely, I'm not going to say untimely, but timely confession, because if it's any moment to finally take this cat out of the bag, it was here. And I'm so glad that they did it. And I felt like Tyrese's reaction was adequate. I mean, granted, he grabbed the gun at first. But Tyrese has gone through so much shit and has developed somewhat of a character, not as much as Carol, but he has gone to that point where he's like, I'm not going to turn into an asshole. I forgive you. I mean, sure, it sucks. And I really wish that Karen was here, but like he said, we can't stay. And that kind of symbolizes how he is up here. Like, hey, I can't stay in this moment. I can't linger upon revenge. I gotta move forward. I still got Sasha out there. At least I hope that she is. And I'm speaking from Tyrese's perspective. So I bought into Tyrese's reaction, and I bought into their decision to get away from that house, because now that house will have that memory of Mika and Lizzie, harkening back to that opening, which I genuinely found creepy. Having Lizzie walking around with that, or playing around with that walker, and having that music playing in the background, which did bug me that music was not playing at all in the actual scene later on in this episode. So that was a little bit of a continuity error. But other than that, that image within that cold open was genuinely haunting, and it was a good way to demonstrate what that house is not gonna hold inside of it, and therefore these characters just can't stay there. It's time to move on, and it's time to hopefully meet up in Terminus. So despite having somewhat of a weak opening 20 minutes, I will say that the remaining 40 definitely redeemed this episode and helped to become one of the strongest episodes of the season so far, and probably one of the strongest episodes of the show. Granted, there's a few others that can probably take the number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 spot as in terms of the show as a whole. But this is definitely one that I'm probably going to think about for some time. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and give The Grove an 8 out of 10. It could have been a 9 if maybe there were some things in that first 20 minutes that distracted me from these two little girls being either annoying or not being strong as performers, as actresses, as much as Carol and Tyrese, the actress who played Carol and Tyrese respectively. But I will say that it's a high 8. It was borderline 9, but that face, man. That face, that... So let me know what you guys thought of this episode, because things got pretty gnarly, and we're down to just 2 episodes, so I think that the next episode will probably be the only one left in the season to have any sort of build-up to that final confrontation in Terminus before we finally get to that point in the finale. Because if they don't, we're going to have a problem on our hands. So thank you guys for watching. I'll be back next week to review the next episode of The Walking Dead. See you then.